Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Dell EMC Open Managed Tech Talk. Today we're going to talk about version 8 of OMNM, which has just come out in February. You're going to see the new logo here. We see Dell EMC Open Managed NM. That is the logo change that you're going to see on the product, and as well as you're going to see powered by Cruz Operations Center. So don't be confused if you see the Open Managed NM. It's the same thing as OMNM. Today we're going to talk about primarily the new features in version 8. As you already know, probably, if you know OMNM, it is a single console for managing your entire infrastructure, your converged data center, cloud, campus, branch, and your full operations management. And just as a review for some of us, it gives you the ability to view entire infrastructure, connectivity, relationships, all through our automated discovery processes. You can monitor, collect, configure, analyze, and the key here is third-party infrastructures and integration. We not only manage OMNM devices or Dell devices, we also manage a complete suite of other vendors as well as legacy ecosystems. A key part of the application is also the ability to automate. So you can you don't have to worry about those manual, repetitive IT operations. There's a variety of ACLI scripting and automation framework that allow you to take full control of your network, and so you don't have to do so much hands-on type of configuration. And as usual, and going back many years now, this is a Dell-funded integration. So we have a lot of proprietary features that are built specifically around Dell products, around Dell service tags and warranty reporting. Those kind of things are built in, and so we have a very tight integration with Dell infrastructure. And then in terms of our solutions, we have a full suite of solutions that we can provide here. We are in a lot of greenfield environments where you have nothing and you're just starting off fresh. We have solutions that involve the XC series Power Edge platforms. This is where we're going to talk about Nutanix and the Nutanix Console Converged Infrastructure. We get into a lot of environments now where we see a full rip and replace type of environment where you're taking out your old Cisco equipment, for example, and you're moving all over to Power Edge, or I'm sorry, Power Connect or other Dell line of devices. And so we basically facilitate that process and allow you to manage your old stuff while you're getting on the new stuff. And then the last one here is our bare metal deployment, our baseboard management controller for IDRAC, basically Redfish. Any server that supports this, which is all of your IDRACs, we can now manage those, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the server management today. That's one of the key features we want to talk about in what is new in version 8. So what is new? As I mentioned, enhanced server management. I'm going to show you at a high level how you can discover, manage, and monitor your baseboard management controllers, the BMCs. And this is not limited to just IDRAC. Now, it turns out that Dell has one of the most mature implementations of IDRAC. And again, this comes through the Redfish protocol, and Dell has done a good job of developing against that API that allows us to do the IDRAC management. But other vendors are also supported through that protocol, that Redfish protocol. That includes ILO for HP servers, IMC for Cisco, as well as XCC for Lenovo. And the ability to do this at the BMC level allows us to also take control of your converged infrastructures. And again, I'll show you this on Nutanix, how we pull that in. And so speaking of the Nutanix console, I'm going to show you an easy-to-use console that kind of brings an entire infrastructure. We're used to managing single devices, OMNM, and now we're talking about an entire converged infrastructure that consists of top-of-rack switches, servers, some sort of software that's managing that structure. And so I'll show you a console that will help us have a quick and easy view into how that console is, or how that converged infrastructure is performing. Some of the additional items also are things like Big Switch, IP Infusion. We have support for VMware, vCenter, ESXi 6.5. On the Dell EMC side, we also have the OS 10. In this particular version, we have support for several new OS 10 models, as well as OS 10.4.2 And then on the OS 9 side, we've added support for 9.14, OS 9.14. So I encourage you to look at the release notes for this particular release. It has a very, very good detail about specific models, firmware, as well as other things that we're probably not going to talk about today. We're just going to hit the high levels today, but I encourage you to look at that release note. We have support for things like the vPlex. A very interesting one is the VEP. VEP is becoming an increasingly requested platform, specifically the VEP 4600 and all the SDN solutions that go around that. We have support for data domain, Isilon, VNX storage, Avamar, and then of course our legacy stuff for Aeronet Wireless and Perva, those kind of things. There's a lot more than what's listed here. We have an updated device matrix. You can get it off of the Dell site directly. You have the URL here. So just feel free to go out there and grab that. A lot of good information on that matrix. All right, let's just jump into the demo. Again, today I'm going to highlight some of the main features, which are mainly going to be the server configuration and as well as the Nutanix Console. Okay, let's start off with the servers. This is version 8, and as I mentioned here, the new logo here, OMNM powered by Cruz Operations Center. We can now discover our BMCs through that Redfish protocol. Just quickly, I want to highlight here how you do that. If you're used to our profiles, basically discovery profiles, you come in here and provide a name here. And then on the network side here, give an IP, but the main thing is you're going to create a new protocol here, a credential for a protocol, Redfish, and you simply give it the admin credentials for this. And in the case of IDRAC, it's simply the administrator credential to get on to the IDRAC. It's the same exact protocol or login that's used for Redfish. So you would simply add that protocol and authentication, the IP address, hit execute, and you're going to have those devices discovered. And so what do we get with that? Let's just go quickly look over here. This is an example of your IDRACs being discovered here. And you're going to have access to a wide variety of things on this particular device. The details panel is going to show a variety of things, KPI metrics. I don't have the CPU memory on right now, but you would see that. Temperatures on, the entire inventory that the hardware knows about, all the way from fans to NICs. And you can actually pull performance on each of these. I can maybe show you an example here, how we want to get maybe voltage sensors from a CPU. And so this is going to go out to the device and pull in. And actually, I might have one here already. I don't want to waste your time looking at that, but I think I have one here where I can show you that. Actually, I don't see that here. Let me try that one more time just to give you, I want to give you a feel for what kind of data you're going to see on this device. Go back to my details page. Pick something like a voltage here, right click and do performance. Now the Redfish protocol can sometimes be a little bit slow, so we're going to give it a second here to show us that data. But you can actually pull these key metrics. I'm pulling them at a very discrete level here at voltage sensor. You could also go to the top level device, right click and pull the data off of it there as well. And it's going to give you the data that's similar to what you would get from IDRAC. So there's basically a simple, your health status is okay, your voltage is 1.0, and you can chart those if you need to, but all of that data is readily available to you. It's similar to our switches. You're going to have the same or similar tabs along the top here regarding CPU if you want to dive into that, network and storage, power supplies and fans. Any of that information you can get along with alarms. So we're going to be getting Redfish alarms from that device. So you can you'll be able to track those and do thresholding and all those kind of things as well. History and all the other usual things are on here. You can get performance if you need to. Other things that are available on IDRAC, a simple right-click option here on my direct access. We can go directly to the MIB browser if your IDRAC supports that. Most of them can be turned on to use that. So you have all that SNMP connectivity as well. If you want to get traps via SNMP or go interrogate the IDRAC directly through SNMP, you can do a direct access to the command line. That's a very nice feature because you can go run your own rack admin commands. And you can also direct access to the normal Dell web interface. If you need to get on the device's default web interface, you can do that as well. One thing I can show you here, this for the command line access I was talking about. You can go to your actions here, and I can run a simple command. Because I have command line access through this new driver, I can go run these commands either through an action or, as I showed you, through the direct access. But you simply can pick what you want to do here. And I have a simple rack admin command that just does a get and gets information. Like if I want to get SNMP, I can execute that. And that's going to go out there and it's going to interrogate the box at the BMC level, and it's going to come back with information about that particular node. And so I'm only showing you one device here, but if you had 10 or 20 of these you wanted to get information on quickly, this is one way to do it. So we see our complete SNMP setup here. And so this is going to also factor into your ability to run actions. And so I encourage you to look at our other demos if you're not familiar with actions, but because we do have command line access, you can go and update any of these values too through our actions framework in individually or in bulk. And a good example is, for example, your BIOS settings. If you want to go and set through an action, you can go and push this change to set a BIOS setting and push that out to all your devices. So it's a very nice feature to be able to bulk update all of your inventory. And so I'm going to go over to configuration management and show you another nice part of the Redfish discovery of these. And let me just pick one here. See one here that has a configuration on it. My screen is a little bit scrunched up here, so I'm going to expand that just a little bit here. Gotta move a screen out of the way here. Okay, so what you see here is we can actually back up your server configuration profiles just like you can back up a configuration on a switch. And so what you see here is some versions of that file. And now you can back these up. Let me just back up here since I'm talking about backup. When you go to the backup screen, you simply go to your backup here, and you're going to be given the same dialog that you would get with a switch. It's going to ask you, what your target devices are and that sort of thing. But the other part of this is it's going to ask you how you want to back it up as XML or JSON. And there we go. So some things that are noteworthy here is, again, back it up as JSON or XML. There's a variety of features here about how you want to export some of the settings. If you're familiar with SCP, these will make sense to you because it's basically how, if you were to restore something, what the behavior might be. And then there's some things you can include in here, passwords and how you want to see things. But the nice part here too is you can do just specific parts of that server configuration file. So if you just want to back up your RAID and look at that and create a template for that or a snippet and push that back out, you can easily do that just by selecting the RAID. And what you'll end up getting, I think these are all full-blown configurations, but just to give you a view of it, I'm going to edit one and show you. But it's just basically an XML format. And again, just like any other file, you can come in here and you can set a value here. If you want to push that back out, save it, you'll notice we have a version 3 now. I can compare that to version 2, and you're going to see the differences between those two files. And so it's a very nice way to check those configuration files. But again, you can easily right-click and restore that, just like you can with a switch configuration file. And so you have all the functionality built into this screen for servers as well. So all your configuration alarms and your images. You can also deploy BIOS images. So you simply come in here and say new firmware image, and there is a new option. Rather than attach it like for a Cisco device or a Dell device, you would basically attach this as a BIOS for a server, and that's all in that part of the import process. And basically, you would get that image from Dell. You can download a bundle, an executable, pull that in into the image repository, and then you have the same features you have with any firmware deploy, where you can right-click and deploy that to one or more devices. So you can push out BIOS to many devices all at once. So a very nice way to keep all your devices up to date and in sync. And since we do have a command line here, you can also do compliance. And so again, I'll encourage you to go to our other videos on compliance, but essentially we're scanning a configuration file for specific entries. And so if you have something on your configuration profiles that you want to scan for, it could be a RAID configuration, you can put that into your criteria and go and scan all of your servers to make sure they're in compliant. And if they're not, you can hook that back into our automation to go and restore the compliance settings. So there's a lot of functionality I'm talking about there, but there are videos that cover those topics as well. So I already told you about actions, how we were able to create an action, a show action. You can create configuration actions as well to push those against the device. So having that command line access to that server configuration profiles gives us a lot of flexibility here. So that kind of ties into the next topic, the next major topic, which is our Nutanix Console. And so, as I mentioned, this is the ability to take a console or entire converged infrastructure and bring it under management. So what we've done here is we've created this customized page here just for consoles. Now, the environments we're seeing, there are multiple. There's multiple converged infrastructures. I only have one here, but what we're leveraging here is our hierarchical views, containers that they used to be called. So you can actually create a node here, by whatever organization you want and show all of your clusters. And the nice thing is you can see the alarm level at each level. And so just like our hierarchy view with individual devices, you have the same thing in the context of a cluster. And so now we're talking about, again, not one device, though. We're talking about a suite of devices. And so a cluster is generally, it's going to consist of some sort of compute resources, servers, basically. So here you see I have 3 servers. These are essentially power edge servers that I have under management that are part of this console. And then I have the storage component as well. You can drill into these. You can go to the details page, just like any switch, and get details on it. You can drill in to get more information about that particular component. There's all kinds of information you can hover over. You can do further interrogation on so a simple right click through going to details. You can do that for the server as well to grab more details. So there again, we're just bringing up the basic details page there where you can interrogate the various components of that server, the cluster, the controller disk. Right-click options to get performance are all there. But as I mentioned here, we'll go into the drill in on that one to show you that you can actually drill in and see the VMs that are on that. And again, you can get information about that VM. You can right-click and go to details of that VM and actually get performance on that. So some nice little features there from a topologies perspective. Down below here, it's very context driven. So as I click these particular nodes, the screens are going to update based on that context. And so you'll see that now I have alarms related to just that cluster. I have event history just related to that cluster. And down below, I have a layout here of my Nutanix assets for that cluster. And so you'll see that I have context around this. There's 2 aspects here. I have the physical host that have been discovered as BMC. I have the server knowledge here at the BMC level for IDRAC. But then I also, because this is Nutanix, they use what's called Acropolis or other hypervisors on top of this. But it knows about these server nodes in a different way and knows about them. Over here, we're seeing the Nutanix node. So this is how the hypervisor understands the nodes. So you can interrogate these in various ways. I can right-click this, as I showed you before, from the resource manager and do various actions against this, whether it's performance, run an action, interrogate it however I see fit. And you'll notice here as I click this one, it then shows me the context of that one here. So now I know that this particular physical node corresponds to this software node that the operating system or the hypervisor knows about. And I have various options here to go in and interrogate that in various ways. I also have visibility to the top of rack switches. In this case, I only have one single top of rack, but I can see all the events related to that. Again, this is to bring in all of your information about Nutanix so that you can understand what's impacting your particular cluster. And then down below here, I have the virtual machines. Basically, you can interrogate those, as I mentioned, through the topology. You could have done that as well, but you can see those here. You know exactly what hypervisors are on this particular node and how the hypervisor sees those. And so you can interrogate those as you see fit. Again, there's a deeper video for this that goes into a lot more detail on how to navigate and manage things. It's very simple to discover a Nutanix cluster. It's just a simple credential for the hypervisor. Put that in, and we can go and just interrogate and interrogate the system and bring in all this information. Down at the bottom here, we have some context information also about this particular cluster, depending on what you want to look at. Top talkers. If you want to see top talker information about this dashboard or about this specific cluster, you'll see a dashboard down below here giving you specific information. Variety of things will show up here related to that particular cluster. So again, giving you a quick view into the performance aspects or anything that might be going on here. You see memory utilization and those kind of things. And then again, we have the ability to do actions against this cluster. So we can, in this case, it's Acropolis, and so you have a command line that goes to that particular hypervisor, and you can actually run command lines, and so you can add your own commands to go and interrogate it. You can set up syslogs, for example, to pull those syslogs in. There is a component of this cluster as well, where we actually are shipping a log manager, and you can facilitate with actions setting up syslogs to come into Cruz and to display those logs in a useful way. So I encourage you to look at the add-on video for more details about that if you're interested in that area. But you can also send other types of command line actions to the box to do a variety of things, depending on the hypervisor. In this case, it is Acropolis. Another small thing that you might have noticed is that we are now HTTPS driven. So you're gonna see that on your consoles now. It will redirect from the old 8080 up to HTTPS 8443. So it should be transparent, but you will have that extra step of allowing that to be displayed. Okay, if you're interested in trying this, as usual, we have a free 30-day trial. Here's some information for you. If you're interested, you can also get sales support. If you have an inquiry for sales or anything like that, feel free to send an inquiry to sales@dell-omnm.com. There may be some skewing changes you may want to ask about. Feel free to contact us through that number.